Hi everyone. Welcome to another You Asked, I'm Answering video. And I've got some more really great questions, and it is an absolutely stunning day again out here, and there was no one out here in this park. And so I've got Sheppy loose and Maggie on a leash. And the first question I'm going to start with, and if I run out of time, I only want to keep my videos 20 minutes or less. If I run out of time, I'll do another video with the remaining questions because I don't want to miss any. The first question is, and I can't remember exactly, I've got my notes in one hand. I'll look down in a minute. But how do I muster the courage to do all the things that I want to do after being subjected to so much narcissistic abuse from so many people? And that is a really great question. And I believe this person is seeing a therapist. They did not go into detail, and of course, they don't need to. And so I'm just going to give you my best shot at this and what I did for myself, as I can only share my own experiences. I'm not a professional, and I don't know what professional therapists tell people these days anyway. So I'm going to flip this around and show you this stunning park. And I don't think I've ever videoed this field before. And at the end, there's a place where Sheppy can go swimming. So we'll turn this around. I just love the quiet. And so the question is, how do I muster the courage to do stuff I want to do after being a victim of narcissistic parenting? And that was the exact question. Now, right away, I will address that victim reference because I don't consider myself a victim at all. I suppose I was when I was a little girl because I was stuck. Not only psychologically stuck with a very, very confusing upbringing, but I was stuck physically. And had I had a relative to come save me, maybe they would have, I don't know. But I was not fortunate to have that. But I don't know what the official description of a victim is, but I have never seen myself as a victim, ever. And I will never see myself as a victim, no matter what happens in the future. He's beautiful. And I think that mindset is very important in order to move forward. Because if you consider yourself a victim, then in a way, Sheppy, come on, in a way, you're allowing those people to still have a negative effect on you. And some people like to be victims for the attention. And isn't this beautiful? And I hope the wind doesn't bother the video. So no, I've never been a victim. Even when maybe someone else may have considered myself to be one, because I certainly was in plenty of circumstances to warrant it. And perhaps you have too. But I'm not going to settle ever for that definition. I absolutely reject the thought of ever being a victim. And of course, that's a personal decision. You may have different circumstances and different situations. So how do I muster the courage? Well, I've been this way since I was a kid. And maybe it's a personality trait. I don't know. But what is courage anyway? Oh, let's go this way. What is courage anyway? Courage is when you're really afraid, but you do it anyway. That to me is courage. I don't think I'm going to encourage Sheppy to go swimming because the tide is coming in and it looks pretty darn fast. If it was high tide and more still, but I don't think we're going to do that. Shippy, let's go this way. So how do I muster the courage? Well, I've always been this way. And to me, if you really want something, you're going to do it. And if it takes being courageous, then you won't mind being fearful, because you'll be driven towards whatever goal you have. And that's the way I've always been. I've always been very passionate about whatever it is I've wanted to do. But I don't blindly chase after things. And this is an important part to all of this. I consider possible outcomes, and I also create in my mind possible things that could go wrong. So if there's something that I'm a little bit unsure of, but I still want to do, I evaluate the possible risks. And I evaluate the possibilities of things going right versus things going wrong. And I hope that makes sense. And I don't know if everybody else does this. Now, I'm an independent soul, and I do not listen to discouraging people. And that might be one of the problems for many, because if you're being discouraged, that can add to your hesitation and create doubt and make yourself wonder if you should even bother to do what the heck it is you're thinking about doing. And I never buy into that. Oh, Sheppy is going to go swimming. He always wants to find a place to swim no matter where we are. I need to watch him to make sure, because the tide is very fast. There he goes. And if you have a goal and you focus on that goal, and you're still carrying around doubts and insecurities from your past, this is what I did for myself. I put it all away in the past, and I decided that I was going to start listening to myself and valuing myself, and that was a choice. And I wrote about that in I See the Elephant. And it took me a very long time to realize that, because I questioned myself for years. Sheppy, come on! And I doubted myself for years. Yet I still did a lot of very, very bold things, regardless of... Sheppy, come on! Regardless of being fearful. For instance, here he is, good. When I was 18, I was, and I wrote about this in my book, after being lied to for 2 years by a boyfriend who I ultimately married, and that was disastrous, I finally realized he had been seeing another woman for those entire 2 years. And I was going to get the heck away from him. And what better place to go than California? Well, I lived on the East Coast, Gloucester, Massachusetts. And I still remember, I had $98 to my name. Now, this was 1979. So gas was cheaper. But I was going to get away, not only from him, but start a new life. Now, you might say, you can't drive to California. with $98 all by yourself. And what if the car breaks down? What if you run out of money? What if something happens? My gosh, you're all by yourself. That's not a good idea. But I was driven, I guess pun intended, and I drove myself to California. And because I was courageous and compelled to start my new life far away from this horrendous relationship, I actually found someone and encountered someone along the way who helped me get the rest of the way to California when I was running out of money. And when you're courageous and you start the wheels turning, so to speak, to achieve that goal, your courage will bring you to more possibilities so that you can achieve that goal. And sometimes the hardest part is just to start and to turn out the noise from other people who may be doubting you, and to turn out the noise from those people in your past who said crushing, destructive, horrible things to you. That, and I understand this oh so well, reached into your very heart and soul, and I know that feeling so very well because I believed those people, those narcissists. I believed that they were right and I was faulty. Now, courage, again, is doing something despite being afraid. It is taking the calculated risk, driven by passion, driven by intent, and driven by focus. And if you do all those things, you will achieve your goal. How do I know? I have done it many, many times, and I'd be more than happy to talk about some of those many times. Oh, they're adorable. They're probably looking for fish and clams. And again, I don't know how therapists encourage people who have suffered debilitating narcissistic abuse. But for me, the best starting point was to understand narcissism before you understand yourself. Because you need to understand that twisted mindset in order to understand that it was never you. And the more I taught myself and researched about how narcissists thought, it greatly, greatly helped me. So in a way, I didn't start with understanding myself. I started with understanding them. And the more I understood this twisted mindset and this abusive behavior, I realized, sorry, Sheppy loves it here. I realized that it was absolutely a crazy way to live. And it gave me more courage at that point to change my life. And so, what is that saying? With knowledge comes power. It's true. And again, I don't know if this therapist is explaining how these twisted people are, but to me it starts there, because you will never understand your own behavior reacting to them until you understand why they're reacting the way they are. And these are not normal people. There is no reasoning. There is no self-reflection in these people. And when you understand that, you will find the courage to start your life over. And that's what I did. But I've always been driven, even when I was confused, because I thought it was me for years. And I worked so darn hard at trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And maybe that's part of why I was so driven, because I was convinced that it was me. And I wanted to understand myself. And I remember even telling myself as I was driving to California, and I remember this to this day, even though I was 18 years old, and I'm almost 70. When I got in my car to drive to California, I told myself, I'm going to start over and find out what the hell is wrong with me. And wanting to resolve all of that confusion gave me the courage to do that. And so I've always been this way anyway, and I've never been a victim. So if you feel like you're a victim, I think it's healthy to tell yourself, yes, I've been treated badly. I've been misunderstood. I've been abused. I've been made disparaging comments about. I've been gossiped about. I've been used. I've been lied to. And tell yourself that you never deserved any of that, as no one does. But in the same breath, tell yourself that despite all of that, you are not a victim. You are a survivor. And you have the courage within you to continue on and be all of your hopes and your dreams. And know that the narcissist or whoever abused you will never be able to do that, because they don't have courage. They are cowards. And they are cowards because they need to abuse others to feel important. But what they don't realize is that they're making themselves out to be the fool. And that's the best way I can explain it. And I have known many, and I think they're all as smart as they think they are. In reality, they are not. So that's how I find the courage. And I also don't worry about things that have never happened or may happen. And that has to do with how I believe positive energy creates positive things. And I've talked about that before, but if you'd like me to talk about it some more, I certainly will. Because by thinking in a positive light, no matter what, good things happen. And good things will happen. Because the greater something knows you're having all of these positive thoughts. And this greater something will bring those positive things to you. And that gives me even more courage. And I can honestly say I'm really not fearful of anything. I may be cautious. I may be aware of potential issues. But I can honestly say that I am not fearful. Because I refuse to allow fear to control me or to dictate how I live my life. So I hope this video was helpful. I have so much to say because I've had so many experiences in my life, and my channel means so darn much to me because I want to be helpful. And I'm going to turn this around And I think I just spent this entire video on one question. And I will turn around and follow the trail going the other way because it does lead to the water. And I will address the other questions in the following video. And I hope you enjoyed my walk and the peace and quiet. And please feel free to ask me questions. Take care, everyone.